Thank you. In addition to being the Army's birthday, today is also Flag Day, a day to commemorate and recognize our flag of the United States of America and the values that we stand for. And exactly 68 years ago today, in 1954, President Eisenhower signed legislation adding the words, "Under God," to our Pledge of Allegiance. This legislation was first introduced in 1953 by Congressman Louis Charles Rabo of Michigan's 14th Congressional District. He was inspired to add these words after visiting the Lincoln Memorial and reading the words inscribed there from the Gettysburg Address, which ends with this line, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. He also cited a desire to differentiate our country from the Soviet communists. When Congress passed the legislation, Congressman Rabo gave these remarks on the floor of the House of Representatives. You may argue from dawn to dusk about differing political, economic, and social systems, but the fundamental issue, which is the unbridgeable gap between America and communist Russia, is a belief in Almighty God. From the root of atheism stems the evil weed of communism and its branches of materialism and political dictatorship. Unless we are willing to affirm our belief in the existence of God and his creator-creature relation to man, we drop man himself to the significance of a grain of sand and open the floodgates to tyranny and oppression. After adding "under God" to our pledge, he went on to sponsor the legislation that added "Pray for Peace" to our stamp cancellation marks used by the U.S. Postal Service. Congressman Rabo died suddenly while attending an event in Hamtramck in 1961, collapsing into the arms of a young congressman named John Dingell, who represented an adjacent district. When he passed, he left behind his wife Stella and his 6 daughters and 3 sons, as well as many grandchildren. 4 of his 9 children entered the religious order. Daughters Celeste, Stella, and Martha became IHM nuns, and 1 son, Francis Dermott, became a Jesuit priest. His other children were sons Louis and Vincent, and daughters Mary Jane, Carolyn, and Joan. Joan married John, better known as Jack Barrett, after he returned home from service in World War II. Together, they also had 9 children, the oldest of which is my dad, who joins me on the floor today. Louis Charles Rabo was my great-grandfather, and while I never had the opportunity to meet him, his legacy is one that we are very proud of. One of my regrets is that I never had the opportunity to meet Congressman Dingell before he passed. I wanted to ask him about my great-grandfather. I knew about his family life, but I was curious about what type of congressman he was. And while I never got to ask Congressman Dingell that question, I was able to do some research of my own and discovered a couple of interesting statements that seemed consistent across many different sources. Quote, Louis Rabo had a habit of bucking the party leadership when it suited him. The Detroit Free Press also said, quote, Rabo frequently displayed an independence in Congress, which at times must have annoyed party leaders in Congress. Like great-grandfather, like great-grandson. Congressman Rabo left his imprint certainly on our nation, but also on my family. My uncle, Louis Rabo Barrett, who joins us in the gallery, is named after him, as well as many other second and third cousins of mine. He's joined in the gallery by my mom, who's here as well. And when my wife Ashley and I welcomed our youngest son last year, we named him Louis Charles Barrett after his great-great-grandfather. As he grows older, we will be certain to teach him about the man he is named for and the history of our Pledge of Allegiance. Happy Flag Day, Mr. President, and forever in peace may it wave.